Our guest this hour, no stranger to the hot seat of the Situation Room, but she's here. And nominated Senator Gloria Orwoba is here with us this morning. It's been a minute. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. How are things?
Things are good. Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
You know, before we get into it, because it's going to be one of those, you're in the hot seat, you know that. Well, I mean, Karibu sana. And we normally welcome you to the Situation Room with a proverb, right? CT normally does that. CT and the weather are not good friends today. But he left us with a proverb to share with you, then you can tell us what you think about it, even as we get into our conversation this morning. It's from Uganda. And the fun fact from Uganda, did you know that Uganda has the most lakes in Africa? Like lakes, like water bodies. Closely followed by Kenya. So there's a fun fact for you. And may I also tell you that the president of Uganda is one Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, just in case you didn't know. Just for information this morning. So the proverb, no matter how powerful you are, you can never make rain only fall over your house.
Nice. No matter how powerful you are, you can never make the rain only fall over your house.
Yes.
The blessings are for everyone.
Yeah.
That's a nice proverb.
It is.
I like that one.
Yeah. It's for everybody, isn't it? It is for everybody.
It's for everybody.
No matter who you are, golden child, blue-eyed boy, no matter what it is, it's for everybody. When the blessings come, they're for everyone.
They come for everyone.
And you can't just make them fall for yourself. All right. Looking into conversations, I mean, you sitting and serving in Senate, and some of the things that have happened in the last 6 months or so. One of those big issues that we looked at, and it's still being looked at, I believe there has been a task force now that has been
a working group.
A working group.
Yeah, 42 member.
To look at issues of femicide, look at issues of gender-based violence, but the femicide one was a big one. Let's take a few steps back into that journey and say, okay, we got to the point whereby everybody was, saying, too many women then being killed in Kenya. Whether they were being killed because they were women, I think is a kind of a different conversation. But the fact that women were being killed now then became an issue to be looked into. Before that, we saw you and continue to see you very, very vocal about menstruation and sanitary rights for girls and women. And to say that, no, it is not something you choose. It is something that you are by virtue of the fact that you're a woman. And yes, those rights ought to be protected and provided for. So then we get to the place whereby all of these conversations around these things are happening at the same time. And we're just caught in the headspin of where we are. That it takes or took the intervention of government at a very high level to say, okay, guys, let's look into this thing and see what the problem is. Where are we?
I think, first of all, that it's only in 2025 that we have had a government that has said, oh my goodness, let us now, isolate this issue and look at it on its own. That should tell you something. It means that women have been, talking for years and years, decades even, and our rights and, right to security, right to dignity, our rights have actually been violated for decades. And it's only in this regime that, someone has said, okay, fine, we finally had you, and maybe let us resource, maybe let us put 100 million, maybe let us put a task force. I know that there has been a lot of working groups in the past, but the thing is, I kind of come from the opinion of there's nothing new under the sun. We have had so many working groups. We've had so many reports written. We have so many proposals that have been submitted. But what we don't have is we are not intentional in actually putting those reports into action. We are not intentional. So I am not so excited about the working group. It's not something I'm like, oh, finally a working group. No, because we've had so many. I'm actually not so excited about the fact that 100 million has been put out to deal with gender-based violence. I would be excited to see how we are spending that money, because our problem as Kenyans is the intent. We are the smartest probably in the region. We are the most educated. We are the most self-driven population. I just wonder why we are not intentional in some of these things. So, for instance, now you will see, and I have spoken about it, and I have chosen this will be the hill that I die on. I have said so many times in the past that, for us to have behavioral change, for it not to be normal for a spouse, whether a man or a woman, to be beaten by their partner, someone has to get arrested, someone has to get charged, someone has to get convicted, someone has to go to jail. When that happens, and repeatedly to all the perpetrators of gender-based violence, of femicide, then you're not going to have to put up any billboards to say, let's stop GBV. You're not going to have to go on radio to talk about GBV, because people will be watching and people will know, I'm going to get arrested, I'm going to get convicted, I will spend time in jail. And the problem is we have spent so much time in the advocacy and talking, and we still don't have convictions. We've seen incidences on CCTV that are being shared, and we always wonder, what happened to that person? I was involved in one of the incidences last year where there was a Nigerian individual who was beating a woman on a wheelchair. And I'm telling you, I had to literally say, okay, let's make an example of this particular case. And I personally had to go to the authorities that be and camp and say, put a report, There was already a report by the victim. So I literally had to go and push the report by the victim, push from the police station to the ministry to immigration, personally, for that individual to have been deported out of the country. Now, that's not sustainable. That is not that to me was a pilot of what we can do if we're intentional in saying, when something is highlighted, when something is reported, let's act on it.
Right.
So like now, the lady who was trying to, because it was like obviously attempted murder, kill the partner. I don't know if it is the husband, but it was reported as a partner, which is an intimate partner violence situation. Has that guy reported? So it starts from there. You're the victim. Go and report, so that even when we are making noise, us as activists, as leaders, as who, you see, for the lady on the wheelchair who I assisted, she had several reports and an ongoing case. So it was easy to go and say, why is this matter not being attended to? But for this other one, so many of these cases go unreported. And then the second thing, if they are reported, no one acts on them.
Why?
Because our systems are broken. Our systems are broken. There is a gender desk in every police station.
Yes.
Which was a very good move when the theory part of it was good.
It was called Polycare, I believe.
Yeah, Polycare.
Yeah.
They keep changing the names, but the fact of the matter is that it's a desk where women are encouraged to go to if they feel uncomfortable to go to because you know what used to happen in the other OB desks.
Yes.
They would even get repeat harassment and things like that. But this gender desk, other than going to pour your heart out, there's no OB desk assigned to that gender desks. So you talk to the gender officer, you tell them I've been raped, this, that. You go through the whole ordeal. And then they tell you, okay, now let's go to the OB desk. And tell them again everything. So you're only just re-traumatizing this victim. Then that's the first broken thing in the chain, that there's not even an OB book at the gender desk. The second thing, they're not even assigned IOs, investigating officers. If they are assigned investigating officers, those investigating officers, as I have come to learn in the different cases, actually don't take those cases seriously. And that is the reason why they don't record. If this was happening as it should be, I should be able to go to any police station and I should get data that at the gender desk, this quarter, we have had this many reports, we have had this many OBs, and this many IOs have closed the case because of evidence or no evidence. Collection of evidence is a problem. Even the chain of preservation of evidence at that same gender desk where you're supposed to have an IO. So the system is broken. So if you don't have a proper reporting system, proper evidence collection, which court are you going to? That is where you go to court and the perpetrator can stand and say, I didn't do it. And you have nothing to show that this person actually did it. So then you have a lot of reports and then they are saying that there's nothing to substantiate. And what normally happens is they negotiate out. And then, so we have no convictions. So if I'm living in a region where people are being beaten and no one is being convicted. It doesn't matter how much Gloria Orwoba speaks to me through forums, through billboards, through what. Me, I've not seen a conviction. So I'll keep beating the people I'm beating.
So then, if we're talking about a broken system, because then they're agents of the system, whether we're looking at the police, whether we're looking at the courts, whether we're looking at social workers, that the broken system is not going to be fixed by a working party.
No. And it starts from here is the thing. It starts from the top, right?
By the top here being
now we have 100 million that has been allocated to fixing gender-based violence, curbing those incidences, and it has been channeled through the Ministry of Gender. Do we have a minister?
Currently, no.
So we have an accounting officer, right? You know, we assume that sometimes these roles are not important. But this is where you see the importance of having a minister or not having a minister. Because you have an accounting officer whose work is to account for the resources. So when a proposal is brought to them that 100 million be split amongst all the women leaders to go and do sensitization forums at the ground, all the accounting officer will do is, how do we account for it? Let me put a system to account. But then if you have a minister who's thinking, why are we sending money to go and do sensitization when we have not fixed gender desk, when we have not fixed they're called SGBV courts. You know, we have special courts dedicated towards this. And those courts, as we stand now, don't have enough magistrates. I am made to understand through the CJ's office, because I had a meeting with the CJ with other leaders, and that these magistrates who deal with these cases are so traumatic that you cannot subject a magistrate to so many cases at once, because they need to debrief, they need to go themselves for psychosocial support, and we are just not resourced on that level. So you have a police desk, a gender desk that doesn't work, cannot collect information, cannot put together a case for conviction. And then you have a gender court, the SGBV courts, that don't have enough magistrates and enough resources to carry out and expedite cases within a short period of time. So you find you have a person you have a girl, for instance, who was defiled at the age of 6 years. And by the time that case is closed, they are 23 and married. And it will be closed in the basis of no evidence was found.
You speak of
that system is broken.
You speak of a broken system from the police level. You get to judiciary is not working, but here we are, the president forming the working party. That means it is a big thing, as well as those who formed Polycare. It was, if you look at the text of it, it was a good thing. So what will it take for us to see the importance of intentionally investing in this entire system for it to work?
You see, first of all, I'm a strong believer of let the person with the vision lead and implement. The vision of Polycare was completely with a person who is not part of what is happening now.
No, okay.
You see, if you give me your thoughts and your idea, how I implement that is not the same way as how you will implement it. Sure. Unless, of course, I'm very, very passionate about it and I've understood it. And it's the same thing you see with the Kenya Kwanza government. Brilliant ideas, well thought of. When we went to sell these ideas to the people, I am part of that team. We had passionate individuals who believed that these ideas, this is where we need to be in agriculture, this is where we need to be in ICT. Somewhere down the line, for political purposes, we lost some of those individuals. And you can see, and I am personally saying that you can see we are kind of struggling in one area or another simply because the vision bearers are no longer part of the process. Okay. And you know, I feel bad to say this because at the end of the day, people must also understand when you refuse to participate in politics, what you are actually denying the people of Kenya and this nation is your ability and your capacity and your interest to be part of a visionary thing. And that is where half the corporate people go wrong because they say, I don't do politics, yet those are the people we need in politics. That's where you see now we have the clergy and the religious team coming on board because they have also understood, by the way, this thing, we can be sitting in churches, but we are being led by people who have no good intent. So what I'm trying to say is even when it comes to this GBV thing, there are a lot of critics. I'm one of them. But the critics that I don't appreciate are the people who say, this is bad, this is negative, but they don't bring anything as a solution. And they also don't want to be part of a proposed solution. And that's why you hear there's this sense of frustration of, okay, I'm listening to you, but all you're saying is the things that I'm doing are bad. What do you want me to do? Or you must go. No, you tell me what you want me to do. So for me, every time I criticize, and this is one of the moments that I am criticizing my own government, which I have been nominated to represent at the Senate, where I'm saying, for this particular part where we have where our president has actually thought through it and said, I'm going to allocate 100 million this financial year so that we can curb these cases of GBV. I also want to say, this 100 million, how we are proposing to spend it. Whoever came up with that proposal, because I definitely was not in that team. It's a very wrong proposal, because going down to the grassroots to put up a one-day event to just talk about GBV is not the reason why people are beating each other. The priority right now should be fix the broken system, and then perhaps step 2, once that system is fixed, go to the advocacy.
So are you extrapolating that example to say that, whether we look at GBV today, whether we look at health, whether we look at education, whether you look at security, across board, that unfortunately the implementors or the implementation mechanisms are actually the wrong ones then being applied?
And if not the wrong ones, I will say the strategy might be correct, but the individual carrying out the implementation might not have as much zeal. A good example is SHA. It took a lot of intervention from people who understood what the president was trying to do for us to even turn that ship around. Because when you have someone who doesn't believe in the system on the onset, implementing something that you're giving them, they're not going to do the right thing. They'll be saying, have you ever gone to, like someone will come to Spice FM and say, it's even cold here. And they have come. And they have come to the show. So how are they going to have a good show? So my thing is, it's okay to criticize. And I'm not shy to say this, even to my followers on social media. Yeah, criticize me, but tell me, Gloria, what you're doing is wrong. I feel instead you should be doing A, B, C, D. Because you can't know what is wrong unless you have an alternative.
Right.
And if you don't have an alternative, you have no moral authority to criticize. Yeah.
Do you think that when somebody's going off, if a ship is being steered and the ship is being steered in the wrong direction, do you think that the captain of the ship is aware that we're going in the wrong direction?
It depends. It depends.
Can they not see clearly? This is the map.
You see, like me,
they have the reading.
Let me give you an example.
Going off,
like me, when I took this campaign of period poverty to end period poverty to the public, about 2 years ago, my vision was so huge. I'm talking about museums, menstruation museums. You see, Museums of Kenya. When people go there to see how we started off this country, cradle of mankind, whatever, all those things in the museum, in my thinking, there should be a section of menstruation. And the whole, how even tampons came about and everything. When I had that vision at the beginning, there's nothing you could tell me. You would not convince me that we cannot have a museum. There's no amount of telling, because for me it was like, you people are not seeing this. This is the beginning of life. This is what everyone needs to know. It took a lot of, let me say, not really exposure, but it took a lot of getting more people on board for me to understand, okay, your vision is excellent, but we can't go your path. We have to take these several routes before we reach to your museum. And for that, it's because I'm so passionate about what I want to achieve with that particular sector. So what I'm trying to say is, you might have such an excellent vision and you really want the best for that situation, and because you are driven by that intent of wanting the best, you can only see one path towards it. But it's good to bring people on board who will tell you, we will still reach where you're going, but we are now going to have all these people coming with us. And I feel that is where the president has, gotten to the point where it is like, okay, even this broad-based government, it's not because we can't get to where we are going with our vision. It is more about let us carry everyone. On board. And that when you do that, what it happens is it opens up. Then you start realizing, so even this affordable housing, by the way, not only can we do the standard design so that we can open the Juakali sector, you mean we can even get into the air conditioning and blah, 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 because someone else has come on board and said, why are you guys not doing ABCD? So I feel the idea of carrying everyone on board should not be underrated. And people might say that it is a bread-based government, but they have no idea, for instance, what people like Mbadi have brought on board. I have interacted with the CS Mbadi, and I was like, wow, you mean he's so brilliant.
So if he had not been made a CS, you would never have...
I would never have...
You would never have been privy to his brilliance.
Number one, I would never... Where would I have gotten him? Where, at what point would me and Mbadi be interacting?
He was a member of parliament.
He was in the National Assembly, in opposition. I was in Senate, in government. We barely sit together. We don't interact, And bringing him on board for me was like, and then through him, I'm like, hiya, okay, Ebu tell me, then he'll tell me, by the way, there's this and this person in ODM, and my perspective towards a lot of things have been widened by having many people on board. So I would just say, we need to give things a chance. But also, the one thing that I have really come to understand is, don't criticize if you don't have an alternative.
I have to give it to you. Brilliant case for the broad-based government. The nominated Senator Gloria Orwoba is our guest this hour, and just started off with GBV and looking into some of these cases and what has come out as a result of that. But then also now opening that conversation up to say, okay, in terms of governance, have some mistakes been made along the way, and then how do you rectify? We're looking at several issues. I mean, one as an example of maybe how probably using the wrong tool for the job, or using
the wrong tool
for the job. And sadly, unfortunately rather, we have too many examples of perhaps how that is happening currently. Again, you've given the example of health, given the example of this whole femicide issue, that you take a sledgehammer to a mosquito, for example. You may decimate the thing, but is that the way to have sorted out the issue? Maybe not. Or use the wrong approach. And this could be the reason why we are seeing a lot of dissenting voices towards government today. And whichever way you look at it,
you know what?
Represent government, we say you guys are doing the wrong.
I get it. And by the way, I will not sit here and try to tell you, we are the best government. We are. What I can say is that we are a government that gives everyone a chance, and maybe that is the problem. Maybe that's the problem. And in fact, sometimes I sit back and I'm like, sometimes Ruto is too nice a person, because I see, yes. And it sounds very, maybe from your end, like, what are you talking about?
How dare you?
But let me give you an example. There are people who had no skin in the game, absolutely nothing. They were not invested in the politics of Kenya Kwanza. They had no intent whatsoever to even see our policies, our vision go to where it has come so far.
Of course, they're on their side.
However, dynamics happen, and you are sat down as a leader and you're told, where we are, it is good to have so and so and these people on board. It is good to take everyone with you. And can you imagine? Then you think, okay, let me give it a chance. How many presidents do you think? Because I can tell you, I hear stories, horror stories from previous regimes where the president would say, that is nonsense. We are going to run my show my way. We are going to put these things there. And I feel sometimes that maybe that is a problem where you are too why are you accommodating this? Stop accommodating this. This is the reason why people are out, from the outside looking in, it's like a government of chaos. But from the inside looking out, it's a government that is like, let me embrace this. So it's becoming like...
Senator, very honestly, was it accommodative to take in to want to make it bigger, to bring in everybody to see how we can make this thing work better? Or was it accommodative for protection of future expediency?
Yes. It was accommodative to bring people on board. And by the way, if I take you back to the Gen Z, they were saying, there are better people to do this job. So and so, when he was in this ministry at that time, he was even better than ABCD. People spoke of Mutahi Kagwe. I was thinking, hey, you guys, hey, I have my own reservations, but then, we have come to see he has been brought on board.
Okay.
And sometimes I even go through my social media and I want to screenshot and reply to people who are telling me that, by the way, you are the same person who actually asked for this. Now it has been brought on the table, you have a problem with it. And my issue is this being accommodative to an extent. I feel that sometimes it brings on board chaos. Because, also you have to be selfish with your vision. Because in your vision, it is you who understands where you want to go with that vision. And you might be able to say, okay, by the way, this one is sounding like they understand my vision, come on board. But sometimes someone comes completely from the south, and because there's this pressure of 1,000 people online telling you, take this person, you bring them on board, and it's chaos. So I feel, I honestly, and I can be crucified on this, but there's too much accommodation that is causing chaos. And I feel sometimes you have, as a leader, you have to be selfish with your vision, so that by the time people start understanding, this is what Mwai Kibaki intended with the expressway. It is when they are using it.
All right, Senator.
That's what I feel. Yeah,
Senator, you speak of the vision bearer and those who help him achieve their vision, and would come to a point where one would argue that the vision bearer and the people helping him achieve that have lost the plot. Because if we go back to even the Gen Zs was saying there are other people who can do this better. They did not say we want you to recycle. And that is what is being felt right now, that the president is
why
recycling.
I was so mad at that point when Gen Z said there are other people that can do it better, because I was of the opinion that they are right, but I was also of the opinion that front your person. For instance, for the Ministry of Youth. I have been on record saying, if Gen Z at that time actually fronted a person, do you think that Murkomen would have been put a Minister of Sports and Youth? No. But then the Gen Z kept on saying, we don't have a person to front. And this is my issue. Criticize with an alternative. And I'm not trying to say this person is wrong, this person is right. My issue is, don't come and tell me your lipstick is horrible when you can't give me an alternative. Tell me your lipstick is horrible.
But here's another one.
But here, I think if you do ombre and whatever, I'm like, okay, let's try that. But if you come and tell me it's horrible and not give me an alternative, I'll wear this lipstick every day. So I feel like you have to choose to be part of the solution. You can't choose to consistently be part of the criticism without being part of the solution, which is why I have so much respect for ODM. Because at one point they knew we might lose the people. But we've also been the biggest critics of government. And if government is saying here's an opportunity to be part of the solution, why not?
I need you to say that again. Because I actually cannot believe that you said that.
I have. I feel like
I don't feel. I
have so much. I have so much respect.
A year ago, Senator, those words would have never fallen from your mouth.
No, never. But you see, also, this is what we call it political growth. Because I've also seen the good that it has done in terms of now pushing our agenda for Kenya Kwanza. But I say again, I have so much respect for ODM, because as the biggest critics in government, they kept on criticizing every single affordable housing, healthcare, every single proposal that Kenya Kwanza put to the table. And when they were told, okay, maybe we are not doing the right thing in implementing these things, come on board, they said, yeah, sure, here are our 4 people. Now, when we said to the youth, okay, maybe our president might be too old to understand the youth, come on board, they repeatedly refused.
Why do you think they refused?
Because I think we are in a culture, we are in a space, not a culture, we are in an era where it is considered woke to just criticize. Even when you don't understand what you're criticizing. I have had people come to my space of menstruation. I call it my space, it's mine, I've owned it. Come to my space of menstruation and tell me, bring down your billboard. That billboard is just spending too much money. Okay, I have to say thank you to them, because they made me actually hire a consultant to put together all the impact of the billboard, including donations of sanitary towels, so that I can understand, am I really wasting their donor money? And we came to find out that in a month, we are actually collecting about 600,000 worth of pads from one billboard. So is it worth it? Is it worth it to pay about 180,000 to get 600,000 worth of pads? I say yes. And I said, I keep doing it.
The voices.
So I feel like criticize and then give an alternative. I respect someone who does that, because then you can say, I told you this thing would not work. I told you should have done ABCD. Why don't you give ABCD a chance?
So there are folks who criticized, essentially they did, and said, you know what, that let's look at this in chronology. That when the protests happened in June 2024, that there was a call for, no, all of these people that you have working for you essentially are what? Political dinosaurs, maybe in some case not so much, maybe they made their maiden trip into politics and then they were awarded for their loyalty.
Basically, they're not competent.
Exactly. They were awarded for their loyalty and nothing else, right? So what did the president do after that? He dissolved cabinet. Then what did he do after that? He reconstituted cabinet with some of the same people back into cabinet.
The key word, some of the same people.
Exactly. Go with me on this. Put some people back. But then you saw a lot of the other people then be given positions of advisory here, director here. So essentially you wanted to go ahead with that same system of awarding these people for their loyalty. And so this is where a lot of the frustration has come for people saying, you know what, you hoodwinked us to make us think that you're actually on our side.
So
I'm telling you,
I'm with you. I'm with you. Why are you shifting the goalposts?
To whom and
you
where?
come to me and say your cabinet. Some of these people are not competent. Take them home. I take the incompetent people home who are not competent for cabinet, right? I bring other people. Then you go and follow where I have taken them.
But of course.
No, because if I'm not competent to run a ministry, but perhaps in my past years, I was doing diplomacy and I'm taken to a... So is your issue that the people are not competent to run cabinet, or that you just want to make sure that this particular individual has no job?
Yes.
What is your issue? Because if your issue was that cabinet was not competent, that is what was being dealt with. Right? The fact that I might have seen maybe CT is not competent in spies in situation room, and then I think maybe CT, I can take him to run a blog. Why are you following CT like, oh, you removed him in spies, you've taken him to the... What's your issue? Let's be clear. The issue is an incompetent cabinet, which the president dealt with, which, by the way, I am of the opinion that, yes, that there were people who are politically rewarded, and unfortunately, they were not competent for the positions they were given. But one thing I've come to understand in this politics, and it's the same way in any industry. One, these positions, most of them are political positions, because the agenda is politically driven. When you put up together your manifesto, it is a politically driven manifesto, which you deliver, which is why I keep saying, corporate people, stop sitting in the back seats. Come to politics. When you come to politics and you participate in the agenda from scratch, it is obvious that I will definitely politically reward you, but it should not be just political rewarding. It should be, I will politically reward you where you are competent and capable to deliver. That is where we might have missed the mark. That we picked this person, yes, they should be rewarded, but they're not competent for the job they've been given. It's the same way in the corporate industry. Yeah? If we are sitting in this show, and you have been in this show, for instance, for quite a while, right? And this show is expanding, and it requires now, let's say, a regional producer. Why would I go looking outside when you have been loyal and you are competent? I will look at my loyal people, and I'll look at their competencies and say, this person has been in this thing for this long, and they deserve this position. It's the same thing in politics. Where we missed the mark is there were loyal people who are not competent at all to run a ministry. But because at that point it was like, okay, we have to reward our loyal people, they were rewarded. That was corrected. What you can see that's happening now. Now, when we brought some of the let me say, technocrats who had nothing to do with politics, and they were sat in some of these cabinet positions, you and I can say, they failed. Because one thing that we don't appreciate sometimes is it's not just about the technical part of it. By the way, cabinet is a political space.
But of course.
And if you cannot deliver on the political element, for sure, even if you are the best ICT person in the whole region and you have no political skin in the game, you will fail. We have seen it. And it is the same people who told us to change the cabinet who kept on coming to say, tuko na minister wa ICT. Huyu alikuwa minister. They are the same people who came to criticize the technocrats that were brought on board. So, you'll always get criticism. So as a leader, I think what the president did, he listened, he actually looked, and he knew himself because he had spoken or given hints even before Gen Z came that there are some people who don't even know what was happening in their own dockets.
So that he knows more than they do.
So he knew that, okay, I need to fix something. And he fixed it. And the thing with politics is, in your 5 years, in whatever position, you have to keep fixing things as you go. It will never be that the people who assisted me to get into office are the people who will die with me till the next. Because every step in this game requires new blood, requires new competency. So you keep fixing it as you go. And that's what's happening.
Senator, yet someone would argue that the government, being the government and all the resources that they have access to those who would be best suited for these positions. I'll give you an example. CS Murkomen was in transport, right? When they were sent back, he came back as a sports CS. Right now, he is interior. One would argue, of all the three positions, which one is he best suited to deliver?
Which one do you think is best suited to deliver?
I don't know. You know what I mean? Because
which one do you think is best suited to deliver?
With where he is now?
No, because it's posed the question that Murkomen has been in three dockets, transport, sports, and interior. And the question is, which one?
I would have asked the question that what is the reason why he was moved to this particular docket at this time? That's the question.
That's the question that should be asked. Because if you ask me, if you're a producer in any show, it means you're a producer. You have transferable skills. It means you possibly can produce a sports show. Maybe you can even produce a political show. The fundamental basis is it's across. Yeah. So here's the thing. What makes you think that in politics we don't have the same application? If the fundamental basis of delivering in cabinet is that you have certain skill set, don't you think then that I can deliver in whichever docket?
Yeah, but you've also just told us, Senator, that it is very necessary for you to include the politics of all of this.
Yes,
and one cannot run away from the reality that in 2 years there will be an election.
I personally listen.
So when decisions are being made, we cannot, because it's such a speculative society.
And I personally
cannot run away from the possibility that somebody has been given a position because of what will happen in 2 years' time.
Yes. Yeah, and my thing is, that is a question we all can ask because, truth be told, the decisions I make, it is only I who know why I have made those decisions. Yeah. And until I disclose those decisions and I come here and I tell you, like today, by the way, I've chosen to keep my billboards because it's bringing me 600,000 worth of pads every month. Nobody would understand that, right? Until I actually disclose it. So I cannot speak on behalf of the appointing authority, which in this particular case is the president. However, I can tell you that when you're picking a cabinet secretary, it is not only about the technical skills of that person. That plays a major role because that's where they can drop the ball. But it is a combination of the political interests, the political dynamics, their technical skills, and how much skin do they have in the game. Because we have seen people who are not politicians brought from the corporate, coming to cabinet and failing miserably in less than 5 months. They have actually been the shortest serving cabinet secretaries within this government. And it's not because they are not capable. It's because the combination that is required was just not there. So that I can only leave to the president. But I will say this also. I was of the opinion that at the time that Murkomen was given sports and youth, the sports and youth minister had issues and had to go, right? I'm not going to say competency issues, whatever. I don't know. I just know they had to go. And at that moment, my friend Mangi is the High Commissioner for Kenya to Uganda. There's one time when I started politics, he said, you can't manufacture leaders. So when you're on the table and you need a leader for a certain thing, you have to look at what is on the table. And you have to be like, I need a producer there. Nani's here, pick this one. You can't manufacture leaders. I am of the opinion, at the time that Murkomen was given sports and youth,
because there was no leader,
the youth refused to front a person. They literally, I was just like cringing in my house saying this would have been an opportunity for these guys to come to the table and show what they can offer. When I say these guys, I'm talking about all these names that we see online and whatever, all these, youth people. I was like, come.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, come and show us. Because honestly, I also felt that as a government, we didn't really understand the youth at that time. And so I was hoping these critical voices that are out there from the youth, one of them would say, nipatieni opposition. In fact, online I have seen, and I was happy to see that there's a lady online, I don't want to mention her name, but she said, this Ghana embassy, everyone is rejecting it. And then she said, si Ruto anipatie tu ikazi, mimi I know I can go on. That for me is like, you can take it as a joke. But hey,
somebody's offering herself.
Someone has offered herself. So at that point, I was expecting of all the youth, 3 or 4 would actually come and say, give me that ministry.
Let me deal with it.
So I think the president looked around and it was like, Sasa, these are the people on the table. Who do you think is best fit for youth and sports? Definitely he could not have put Machogu.
Well, but yet again, we have sportsmen and women in this country who understand their space and would know the policies that are needed in place for them to be in sports. But that notwithstanding, that's why I'm saying the government has the machinery, the government has the possibility of knowing who is best suited.
At one
and
point,
all they needed to approach.
How many people have been given jobs and have rejected?
Senator.
I mean, no, let me just say this. Okay. How many people have been given jobs and have rejected? We had a whole conversation about there's no way our debt could be this much. Our international debts cannot be this much.
Surely.
And then the president actually was like, hey, these people could be onto something. Why don't I form a task force and give these people who are criticizing about the debt and let them investigate and come and give us the correct figures? They rejected don't you guys remember? So, you can't force people to come to the table. This is what I'm saying. I keep saying you can't. It has to be, at one point, it cannot be that naomba serikali nifanyie. At one point is, mimi niko na kiosk. Mimi nimeweka bidhaa zangu hapa. Lakini sasa kwa sababu kuna mvua kuna nini, naomba serikali ni offer yourself. Yeah.
Do you think there is, and I refuse to call it noise, but I choose to say that there is a lot of clamor right now for listening to the citizenry who are the sovereign. There's a lot of clamor to say, hear what it is that we are saying. Make an effort to hear what we are saying and act on that. Is that clamor displaced? Is it being listened to? Is the president, is the leadership listening to what Kenyans are saying? Because they are speaking. A lot of it has been called noise. A lot of it has been called misbehavior. I don't know. I mean, a lot of definitions have been given to it. But is it being listened to?
I don't think it's noise. First of all, I don't think it's fair to say there's a lot of noise. These people are making noise.
Yeah, that's what they're being said.
Because, as a mother, when your child makes noise, it is a form of communication.
It's characterized. Absolutely.
It's a form.
They are saying something.
I have a newborn. It's a form of communication.
Yeah.
When they grant or you're like, anasema nini? Yeah. What should I do? Should I change a diaper? Should I? So I don't think it is fair for people to say that these people are making noise. That is not what you perceive as noise is them communicating.
Absolutely.
That's one thing. Secondly, I would say there is no human being that is perfect. There has not been one president who has carried themselves in the most perfect way that we have nothing to criticize them for. And I think that the pedestal with which you are placing His Excellency President William Ruto is completely unfair. Because...
It should be lower?
No, I'm saying there is an expectation that he should be perfect.
He gave us the plan.
And that expectation that he should be perfect is what I call unfair. Because people will go wrong. The question is, when they go wrong, do they show any intent in fixing where they've gone wrong? And I think just looking at how that whole situation was handled after Gen Z, the fact that he even went online to talk to people, I feel like sometimes, cut him some slack, because we are not perfect. We've had presidents before where we used to say President Kibaki never used to talk. Ati tuko na president, hatuna president, hajaonekana, hajaongea, hajafanya. And yet, there was some good in him, a lot of good in him that we are enjoying. I've just come here with the expressway. We used to say that there was, I will not mention the name, oh, this one drinks too much, right? And this and this and this. But when you look back now to compare on some of the things, you're like, oh, but this person was very brilliant in this particular sense. But, so why is there an expectation that His Excellency William Ruto should be perfect? He has his shortfalls. And for me, when you see a leader, I have my shortfalls. We all do. We all do. By the way, and I've even come to understand them more. I am very temperamental. I have them. And I try to fix them as I go, or I try to understand that, okay, this is my shortfall. So because I will get upset at these people, let me not go and address them. Let me send ABCD. Okay. And that's what the president has been trying to do. He's like, okay, I have my shortfalls. I might have such grand visions of this country. But at the moment, people just need bread to be cheap. So I will send so and so to fix this. That's why you see certain people like Moses Kuria in cabinet. That's why you see certain people. And you might ask, why is Moses Kuria in cabinet? But he might be deemed crazy, but there's something that he's doing there that none of us can do. And I feel like that's the approach we should take as a country. Otherwise, everybody just recently we have seen the guy who sells cars. Yeah? He was being celebrated a couple of months back.
Oh, no.
They're crucifying him.
There you go. And
why? And he's a human being. He has shortfalls.
There's also necessity, I think, at some point for the honesty that you speak of to be displayed at, all levels. It doesn't matter at what point you are.
Yes.
The honesty to be displayed and to actually say, okay, fine. I
think people in government, and maybe this is the difference, and I get crucified a lot for this. There's sometimes an understanding that if I'm in government, there are certain things I can't say. So I'm just going to always appear as I'm perfect. Like I should come here and tell you that Shah is perfect, this is perfect. No, I'm telling you the truth of the matter is that the vision of His Excellency William Ruto is of good intent, but it might not be perfect. And so just help us get it to a position where it will be near perfect, because we will never get to 100% perfection.
Well, there she said it, and maybe that it is asking for help from Kenyans at this point, and we'll take it as that.
And say, cut us some slack.
Nominated Senator Gloria Orwoba has taken us to 2 minutes past 10 o'clock this morning. Thank you for being here today, and also for joining in on Kenya's biggest conversation. The conversations continue tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., God willing. Good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.